When it comes to data analytics in sports, baseball has led the way. The heart of the game is the one-on-one confrontation between a batter and a pitcher, and there's a clear start and end to every play. Now think of basketball. Players switch from offense to defense in a moment and move freely all over the court. To understand basketball, you need to understand space. It's a mapping problem. And that's why cartographer Kirk Goldsberry is one of the most exciting researchers in the game.
Basketball is clearly a spatial sport. What I mean by that is the court space is a character in the play. And for the most part, basketball analytics, until very recently, had just ignored that fact. Every year in the NBA players take about 200,000 field goal attempts. And each of those field goal attempts is accompanied by an XY coordinate. That is the key ingredient to the court vision product.
Goldsberry's method starts with dividing the court into 1,284 1-square-foot areas. By tracking the shots taken and made by every player in the league, he can establish a baseline expectation for the value of a shot in a certain spot, and then compare individual players to those baselines.
So SportView is this crazy system. It's essentially a tracking system for every moment of a basketball game. It works by hanging 6 cameras in the rafters of NBA arenas and tracking the player locations 24 times per second and the location of the basketball 24 times per second. It's giving these guys games sort of an MRI and exposing where their real strengths and weaknesses are.
The data is so valuable that the NBA paid for the installation of the cameras in every arena in the league before the 2013-2014 season. But now that all that data is available, the trick is to know what to do with it.
When I first got the data, the first thing I did was sort of look for people that could help me. And so I targeted a few people in the stats department at Harvard that I knew were working on relatively similar projects.
The most exciting part of this research for me has been being able to see a data set of this quality for something that is this huge. So there are about 1,000 games in the season and 10 players on the court, and each player has 2 XY coordinates that are collected at 25 frames per second. So the number of space-time data points ends up in the billions.
The data comes in basically a big text file, and then we read the data from that database using one of these programming languages, say R or Python. And then I can work with that data interactively and say pull up a possession and look at the positions of all the players at a particular moment in a particular game.
A lot of the time when people come across a giant data set like this, they think that the insights are just going to sort of jump out at them automatically. In fact, most of the time you have to choose what sort of angle you're going to take to figure out how you're going to turn this data into some kind of insight. Expected possession value takes a particular moment in a basketball game and assigns it a point value based on how many points we expect the offense to score before they give the ball to the other team.
If you take a look at LeBron James, he is one of the most effective scorers overall in the NBA. But if you just look at his overall numbers, it's deceptive. 2 years ago, he led the league in both points and field goal percentage in the paint, which is incredible. Outside the paint, he's more average. He's not bad, but he's just average. Whereas somebody like Kevin Durant is really good everywhere, but he lacks that really dominant aspect that LeBron has near the basket. One of the things I think that's coolest about this player tracking data set is that it really is challenging us as scientists to ask bigger questions about movement, whether it's traffic or whether it's the movement of people in cities. A lot of the concepts we're working on will inform our future work in non-basketball domain.
Goldsberry's analysis opens up a new way of evaluating everything that a player does on the court. Just call it what Goldsberry and his team do: data ball.